It's so nice to have Messi. That's my immediate reaction to that game. It is so nice to have the best player in the world. Welcome to the Heron Heads podcast. My name is Julio, and I'm joined today by some friends and fellow Inter Miami fans, Dave, Chris, and Jose. And on behalf of the guys, we want to thank you for joining us for episode 52 here on the Heron Heads podcast, your first stop for all things Inter Miami. A huge shout out to our chief Heron Heads, Matias and Chow. And for those of you watching live on YouTube, thanks so much for stopping by. And make sure you hit the like and subscribe buttons if you're enjoying the show. And also, we have stickers. So we'll be sending these out to all our active patrons on Patreon. And if you guys would like to receive some, go check out the Patreon and see how you guys can support us. And we'll get these out to you as soon as possible. So let's jump right into it. Inter Miami 1, LA Galaxy 1. It's a draw. And it didn't look like it was going to be a draw or a win for Miami. And then Messi just pulled one out of his hat. So let me just toss it over to you guys right now.
I'm going to say what I've said already twice since I've started talking to you guys. I'm upset it's a tie, but I'm so happy it's a tie. Thank God. It was a rough match for the most part. You know, there's a lot of intensity, a lot of momentum on LA Galaxy side. They're really pushing up the pitch a lot, really challenging our defense. It felt like their possession was a lot higher than ours, but I didn't see the final possession. But I know at halftime we had more possession with them than them, but they did more with their possession at the end of the day. They were really attacking. They got a lot of nice shots. Calendar, besides Messi saving the day, Calendar saved the day. I know Jose's going to hate to hear it, but Calendar saved the day with multiple saves. The pen save was just out of this world, no pun intended, against the Galaxy. But yeah, it was a rough match. Thank God Messi came at the last minute there and got us a goal that we needed. And hey, that's why he's here. That's why they pay him the big bucks. That's why he's the best in the world. He's the GOAT. He does these things. That's what he does. And we got him. We're lucky to have him. That's all I got.
I mean, yeah, I agree. He did Messi things, you know, and it's funny when Julio at one point after they scored their goal, he was like, all right, we need Messi magic. And yeah, it's kind of what it was looking like at that point, because we were like, okay, we're not really at that point. We were kind of like fluttering. We had no groove. We didn't have much going our way. It was kind of, you know, up and down game for us in general. I would say we were hitting our stride toward the end of the first half. Or early second half. I think we're okay. We're doing well, and then we just fluttered really badly. It seems to be the thread, the theme with us right now. It seems like we get very tired. Luis Suarez, I haven't wanted to say anything, and I love him, so I'm not going to say anything just yet. But he's kind of leaving a lot to be desired right now. Particularly, you know, we brought him in expecting the number one. Get it, you know, the number one scorer from the Brazilian league, right? That's what we were hoping for. And it's like, okay, I kind of missed Joseph. You know, why? Because he brought out well, I'm just saying, it's just right now it seems, I think he has an injury. I don't know, he doesn't look right. It's maybe that, but Gomez just got hurt. I hope it's not bad. I hope it's not bad, because he wasn't playing bad. He really wasn't doing terrible for us. You throw in also the fact that I don't know what Busquets, it seemed like I don't know what's going on today. Just honestly did not look good for most of the game for us, and in the way that we want the game to go, it wasn't going very well. And then all of a sudden we just turned it up. We turned it up in spots, and in those particular spots we looked dominant.
Yeah, this team, they continue to. That's been their go-to, is just picking their spots. That's been how they've played the last few games, but they look so slow. I know that we have an older team, but they're playing slow, and And then it doesn't help when you're playing slow and sloppy. So you can't those two things can't be combined. If you're gonna be slow, you better be on point. Um, we're gonna have to have. I know I saw in the comments, but everybody's saying it. Luis Echegaray saying it that we're gonna have to have some uncomfortable conversations because Suarez doesn't look like he's right. Busquets should probably not have started this match. He was playing dinged up, and load management is going to have to be key for this team. And I think that it being the second game of the season and being in LA, all eyes on them is why they wanted to have everybody playing. That's why they probably had the same exact starting lineup. But I don't think that the match coming up on Saturday is gonna feature the same exact lineup. I think we're gonna have to start seeing some new faces in there because we see once you make these subs, it's a different dynamic. They're pressing a little more. Granted, I understand it's fresh legs coming in instead of the same tired legs that have been playing the last two matches, but something's got to give. We need to have a little bit more juice in attack. We need to have more juice in the midfield. It's funny, the defensive line the back line didn't have any substitutions in this match, and they held up okay. There were some lapses, but I don't think it's enough for us to be complaining like we were all throughout preseason. So that was nice. But yeah, I expect Christoph to not have the start next time. I think Freire will probably get in there, and we will see probably Busquets and Suarez come off, and we'll see if Redondo would have enough time to get in there. Maybe Sunderland gets a start, or and then instead of Suarez, it's obviously Campana who will get in there. But I will say, what the little that we saw of Campana today, it wasn't great. I saw him get pushed off the ball at one point, and I immediately thought, man, Suarez would not have gotten pushed off the ball like that. And then another time, he had a really good goal scoring chance, and instead of doing something creative or just putting a shot on the ball, he just kind of he fudged it and pushed it back, and then that was the end of that possession. Very, very late in the game, which would have been a game winner. So yeah, there's things that need to be cleaned up. That needs to make some adjustments, and yeah, we have the reason we did all these signings, all the younger player signings, was so that we don't have the same old guys out there every single match. We want to see some rotations. I think it's time that we start getting those rotations in now, starting game 3.
Yeah, I don't want to give him credit so quickly into this episode, but Twellman actually made a good point, and it was basically almost like losing Facundo and losing Crema really hurts us. And we don't have a lot of depth in the attacking personnel that aren't named Messi and Suarez. We have Robert Taylor, who was, I mean, it could have been anyone playing left wing because you didn't hear them say Robert Taylor's name more than a handful of times. And when they did, it wasn't anything of note. Yeah, Campana came on and it wasn't spectacular. I mean, he tried to lay it off for Messi in that play that you were referencing, Dave. But you're the number 9. Like, it's your responsibility to do something in that spot. What I did like about Campana, and not to just like harp on this, but his ability to press a little bit more than we saw Suarez, I think that alone, that work rate that he brings, that helps so much. It helps mitigate so many things that are working against us right now because it's so static. It's like in attack, it's just no one's moving well. We're relying on someone to pick out an incredible pass or really tight interchanges, and it becomes very difficult. So a Campana, a Borgelin even just helps stretch the field so much more. And we saw it as soon as these players came on. Granted, LA Galaxy were sitting back at that point, but as soon as these players came on, it became much more dynamic. I'm definitely surprised we didn't see Freire. Not that we were in a position to make defensive substitutions, but I thought, hey, maybe just tired legs so we don't get caught in a counter, which we almost did. I'm surprised we didn't see him. I definitely expect there to be a lot of questions about Campana over Suarez heading into this next match against Orlando, and time's running out for Gressel, especially with Redondo coming in. To me, he is the weakest. We'll see what's going on with Gomez, who went down with an injury. If he misses some time, then that's going to suck, and he's the obvious replacement in midfield, although David Ruiz came in and gave some energy. But we'll see. I mean, I am delighted that we're talking about this in the framework of a draw rather than a loss, because a loss would have just sucked. It would have been just a very flat performance. Obviously, it took Messi magic, but thank God. Thank goodness.
And
Hey,
I heard.
Julio,
I'm sorry. Go ahead, Chris.
to give a little more credit to Twellman, I know it's still early, but he also mentioned another good reason, another pro to have Campana playing is like you mentioned, the work rate that he brings. He also comes back, not all the way back, but he comes back on defense. He accepts passes more in the midfield. Suarez and Messi, you're not going to get that from them at the end of the day. They're not going to really defend, especially Suarez. Messi will stand around, occupy some spaces, but you're not going to get that from those two guys. So having both of them just stay up, creeping up the whole time, it puts a little more pressure on our midfield. It puts a little more pressure on our defense. And I thought that was a great point that he made, because we've mentioned it in the past before that we're not going to get much from those two as far as defense and that play in the midfield goes. So Campana does bring that extra piece as far as having an extra person there to pass it around or to occupy space and try to get the ball back on the attack. So that's another good point that Twellman made. Twice in 11 minutes. What were you going to say, David? You were going to say something?
No, we're talking about Gomez, and I wanted to give him a little more praise because he did, outside of the Messi goal, the two really good chances we had were off of Gomez's foot. So if his injury does last more than just these next few days leading up to the next game, it'll hurt, because Gomez, I mean, he's technically tied for the team leading goals. He had that one last match, which equals Messi and Robert Taylor. So it's nice to see him getting more and more dangerous chances off and actually putting shots on goal. He's been the only consistent one doing it. Granted, 2-game stretch, but he's been consistently in the right spot in attack. We saw it in the preseason too, the matches that he played, that he was in the right spot in attack. So that trend continued to prove true. Hopefully he's okay and it's just a precautionary that they had to take him off. But that, I think, is going to be a massive blow, because he's been the one of all these young guys who had the most promise. I know that Facu had a lot of hype coming in. Kremaski's a homegrown guy, but Gomez was signed on as supposed to be like the best of these young guys. So if Gomez is hurt while he's turning that corner, that's going to be devastating way it's going to sting.
Second year in a row, right, David? Like last year, the same thing happened.
Yeah, he starts to turn the corner.
It's annoying, man. Like he was doing so. He had a point last year. He was also going on an upswing. Right now, he literally just left the Olympics having a great run, and now we're starting to see a little bit of it. I mean, okay, he's still not like a scorer. I mean, he did score, but like, okay, like come on, how many opportunities did he get? I can't hear you, Julio.
Good saves tonight on his shots.
Yes, he had a lot of good shots. I mean, but man, it's just I hope that what I told you guys initially on the group chat, which was it looked to me more like a cramp, but I don't know. He stayed a little bit too long. He was holding the back of his neck. I was like, all right, by now he would have shaken it off by now. A muscle spasm. He'll be okay. All right, I'll take
Thanks,
that.
Nick. I trust you, Nick. I
don't know
you from Adam, but
you.
I believe you. And I'm sticking to it. I'm gonna report that it was just a muscle spasm, and he's gonna be okay. And my source is Nick.
Nick, where'd you hear that from?
It said
Tata.
Tata.
It said according to Tata.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah.
Well,
fair enough.
Yeah.
But what does Tata know?
Tata. So there's that.
Hey, the other thing, I know we want to focus on scoring and the opportunities from Gomez, but he plays well all over the place. He controls the ball when he has it. He does a pretty good job controlling the ball. He's vicious. Like he on defense, he attacks the guy with the ball and he stays on him until either he's able to get the ball or the guy kicks it out of bounds or whatever. But he stays on him the whole time like white on rice. And man, that's what we need. We need that aggressiveness in the midfield on defense, and he brings that aggressiveness and he hustles, man. You see him running back up and down the field the whole time, and they put him at left wing now towards the end when they made the subs, I think, right? So that versatility helps a little bit too. I know we're not a fan of his scoring per se, but it's still nice to have a versatile player like that.
Yeah, and it's fine. I mean, look, it makes sense also that I'm starting to warm up to the idea of him playing at left wing, because to be honest, that's kind of what Alba's doing. and it always seems to be when he's playing left wing, he kind of slides right behind Luis Suarez or Caban, whoever's there, almost like a cam or something. He's not necessarily trying to be a winger. So it also gives more room to Alba to be able to move the ball up the pitch and run up. I thought it was interesting. Alba today had a meltdown on the sideline with it seemed like he was screaming at Tata. I mean, that's the stuff that I'd rather not see. But there's obviously these guys look very frustrated today. We, that it just sucks. It sucked how frustrated they all look today. But I guess that's what happens when you don't have a lot of young guys running the ball of the pitch. Not a lot of guys are able to run back. I mean, it was rough to watch for a long period.
And I think there's something to be said about Taylor and Alba playing at the same time, where Alba, just like you were saying, like when Gomez is playing there in that position, he tucks in. When Taylor's there, he's playing like a winger. So there's not as much room for Alba to maneuver in. So that could be something that we see down the road, is maybe Gomez starts at left wing or plays more left wing to get basically out of Alba's way and allow a little bit better spacing for the team. Because as we saw in the goal, Alba's a creator, and Twellman, for the third time now in 16 minutes that we've said his name on the broadcast, was saying that he was frustrated because he's been defending for 70% of the game and that he's not used to defending so much. He's used to creating. And, I think to his credit, that's a good point, because Alba wants to be up there and creating, but we kept getting caught by Painsil and by Peck. When Peck came on, I thought he was going to destroy the game. But we kept getting caught with our wingbacks way high, and then Painsil and Peck were just running down the wings, and it was an easy pass for Ricky Puig to play it onto the wings just between the gap that was left by Alba or by Yedlin into the path of either of these wingers. So I think there's a lot to be said about having someone that doesn't play as a true winger on the left-hand side specifically to get out of the way of Alba.
And those wingers are animals, man. I mean, we said it in the preview that we were gonna watch out for them. Peck didn't start; he got subbed in, but I mean that was almost like a super sub. That was insane. Painsil was killing the left side all day or all match. I mean, it was impressive.
He was the first match of the team. He was blowing by them with his speed, but he didn't really do anything dangerous with that speed, which I saw.
Painsil is not a scorer.
And I saw in our comments in one of the videos of our previous match recaps, we were talking about how speed is scary, and they said, I forgot who it was, but they wrote that speed by itself is not what's going to kill this team. They have to know how to be skilled on the ball and do stuff with that speed, and we saw it in this one, because Painsil, with all the speed that he had, he didn't actually do anything with any of those chances.
Wasn't the pen on Painsil?
It was, yeah.
Blue by Boosie. Boosie grabbed
yeah,
him.
But that was just a very dumb thing by Boosie. I don't speed. I think anybody on that team would have blown by Boosie. It's not just
getting burned like that makes you do stupid things sometimes, and that's what happens,
But still, if I would have if I was Busquets, just let him go, and he's not going to score. But it's Peck. I would have taken my chance. Player.
I would have taken a chance on that for sure. I would have taken my chance on letting him shoot, because I mean the guy, whatever we think of Gomez's shooting, that his shooting was even like, well, he's really going for the upper corner.
But what I wanted to my point in this is that while they did have two dangerous wingers, I'm very, very proud of the way Christoph played in this one, because Christoph, he gutted it out. He got in front of a lot of these speedy players, held them up long enough so that his other defenders could catch up and defend as well. So Christoph, for all the hate that we've given him leading up to these matches, that he's been fine. He hasn't really been an issue for us. Again, it's sometimes that the knowledge of the ball and some of the skill kind of outweighs a little bit of your deficits when it comes to physicality. So that's something that's been positive. But again, Christoph is older. At some point, you need to start subbing these players off. Christoph has played 2 full matches now. We need to see Freire in there. We need to rotate. Even though guys are playing well, the age is a huge factor, and they need to be rotated. And that falls on Tata, especially if you're not going to sub them out. You gotta start getting guys off the lineup then all in itself.
He subbed out. The first subs were like at what, the 65th minute, 70th, something like that. So I mean, it was okay. Probably a few minutes earlier, being
It would have
down would
been
have been
earlier.
nicer, but it was okay. It wasn't horrible today.
I think he wanted to do it earlier, but they weren't able to get the ball out or something like that.
But he subbed off who was it, Suarez and Robert Taylor.
Yeah.
Suarez
Yeah.
could have been subbed out on
Great
halftime.
subs, but great subs, honestly, because they
Yeah.
were both dragging ass.
Hey,
I
but
mean,
Taylor's now one that I would have pegged for the maintenance program. You know,
no. Why? He's look. We've already seen this before. I'm not gonna go on a rant about him. He doesn't deserve it. I think everybody deserves it across the board. But it's one of those things that, except Messi. What the thing with the thing
Andre
with
Calendar.
and Drake Calendar, of course. How can I forget? Elaine wants me to say he's a poppy. So one of the things that I see with him is that he always has these ups and downs, and he's not a young guy, right? Like we always say that about Gomez and Kramaski when he gets back. We'll see some more of that, I'm sure. You know, they have their ups and downs because they're in the early 20s. I mean, that's expected, right? But that's not Robert Taylor's situation. But he still is up and down. I mean, if we were to have Robert Taylor, the constant pressure that Robert Taylor creates when we have the good Robert Taylor, I mean, we're a way more dynamic team, you know. But when we don't have anyone working the side of the pitch on either side, I mean, who has it on the right side? Yellen, you know. And when he does, he always does the same move. I feel he pretends like he's gonna go far, run really back, and then he just passes it in. And it's always the same thing. He never does anything else. And then on the left side, you have Robert Taylor. When he's on, he's on. When he's off, he's today. You know, so getting subbed off early.
Yeah, I agree. So why don't we go through the match and talk about like the actual key points? The first thing that comes to mind, LA Galaxy came out of the gates, and it was a little bit different than what we saw against Real Salt Lake. It wasn't as dominant of a first 5, 10, 15 minutes by Miami. Galaxy were able to control the ball. Ricky Puig was able to do some things early. It was really kind of a messy, and not messy, but like ugly first 15 minutes. There were a lot of fouls, a lot of ticky-tack fouls getting called. And then Joseph Painsil beats Busquets, gets into the box. Busquets drags him down. Painsil was running out of room and was really getting into a tight angle to shoot. So I agree with you guys. I would have taken my chances and let him shoot, especially after the shots that we saw him take later in the game. So Busquets drags him down and a penalty is given. And I thought this is a disastrous start because we already felt like we were backs against the wall 15 minutes in. It felt like we couldn't get good possession going. And now all of a sudden we gave up a penalty, and Ricky Puig steps up to take the penalty. Big spot for another former Barcelona player. Maybe not the one we necessarily expected to have a spotlight on in this match, but Drake Calendar tapped into his Leagues Cup form and made a huge stop. I thought it was a really nice save. Dove to his left and ball bounced over, and obviously he was pumped because, I mean, that's as good as a goal. What do you guys think on that?
Very nice goal stop.
I mean, it was a great save, and we already spoke about it, but yeah, I think we all agree we would have let Painsil just take the shot at that point. It was a dumb foul on Busi, and it kind of sums up the game that Busquets had. He didn't have a good game again. Bad turnovers, ugly defensive playing, getting burned a lot, and it caused that penalty, like we said. So, but yeah, I mean, great save. I was scared. I didn't want to say I expected the score, but man, thank God for Calendar.
My instant reaction to the save by Calendar was like screw you, Jose. That was my first reaction, and I'm sure I'm not a perfect lip reader, but I'm pretty sure that's what Calendar said after he stopped it, because I'm pretty sure he listens to. I think he subscribes to our podcast. So yeah, I know that Jose is just lighting a fire under Calendar's tush. So that's good to see. And Calendar, I mean, other than the one goal that he gave up, again, he made a good save. It's just unfortunate bounce, and there was nobody there to get in the way of that one. But he had a great game. Many great saves. He really kept us in position to be alive in this one. So even though he did concede a goal, you can't really fault him too much for his play today. But yeah, Calendar's save on that pen was fantastic. I mean, those are pretty much automatic. So anytime you can block one, you can't help but be tickled.
It gives him a whole XG, like imagine. But what I think is when that happened, I was like, this paint still is going to be a problem. I mean, Chris and I went in on him because we were watching a lot of film on him, and it was rough to watch just considering what we have. And I was like, okay, he's probably going to line up against. If he lines up against Yellen or Alba, Alba is so fixated on trying to get up and play offense. He's going to blow past Kristoff. It's going to be terrible. Or he's going to go. Yellen's probably going to stay behind. It's not going to work out. I was already seeing this happen, and I was like, kind of like with Chris. I'm sure, Chris, you felt the same way. We're like, I kind of expected this. This is exactly what I thought it would be. But it was also like nice that it was, the calendar came to the rescue, and it almost was feeling like one of those games that when we went on that Leagues Cup run where we had these like this great performance by Drake Calendar, and we're like, we're gonna be able to get one out of this. Like, we're not playing well. You're not always gonna play well. It's fine. But if you can still drag a tie out of nowhere like we did today, that's good. The only issue is that I almost want to stack as many W's as we can, because I don't know what the international play is going to be like. And like, so that makes me super nervous. So like games like today, I'm like, man, we could have probably squeezed out a W out of nowhere. But that play, Julio, yeah, that all that went through my head right there. I was like, wow, this is awesome.
Yeah. Just really.
Also, I thought right there, I was like, I'm probably going to hit my parlay, because I had Painso scoring a goal and us winning, and I was like, oh, there you go. They're going to give him the free kick, right? He literally just earned it. They're going to give him the free kick. He's going to score. All right, now game on. We can win now.
I did have him in one of my parlays, so I was disappointed when I saw Puig step up, but then I was really happy when Calendar saved it, and I was like, that's what you get. But to that point in the game, the passing was just really, really bad. Like, it just seems like the pep in the passing just isn't there, specifically with Busquets. Like, you expect him to be really crisp with his passing, but it was like very slow paced, very just, I don't know, like the intent isn't there as strongly almost. Not seeing the field well, not seeing where the defenders are coming from well, and it turned into a lot of giveaways, cheap giveaways, and just really worrisome, really worrisome. So shortly thereafter, Puig had a curling effort from just outside the box, and Calendar, I thought a penalty save is incredible because the chances are so stacked against you, but this was a very good save from the run of play. Puig coming in from the left side, taking a shot that normally you would think would go far post. Calendar's prepping to go and dive far post, but it actually goes near post, and Calendar still manages to get fingertips to it and hit it off the crossbar. And then Paintsill, wide open net, header, heads it wide. So we got off the hook there. Calendar made a great save on it, but we got very lucky there again. And at that point, I'm just in full panic mode. I'm like, someone needs to do something magical, or we are just hanging on by the skin of our teeth. And to the point of the chat comment, Calendar had 2.89 like XG saved. He allowed the one later off of a counterattack, and there was nothing he could have done. The parry, the initial save that he made, you could argue in like a perfect world that a keeper should save it to a different place, save it so that it goes out of bounds. I don't know. But the initial parry was maybe the only thing you can criticize. But then it was an easy pass across goal and a wide open net tap in. Nothing he could have done there. I think Calendar, fantastic match. And if not for him, this wouldn't have been a draw, even with the Messi magic that we saw towards the end of the game. So the only chances we really had in the first half was Gomez, and then Messi had like a shot out of nothing that didn't really threaten McCarthy. It was in the midst of a bunch of traffic, and he was just like, "Screw it, I'm just gonna take a shot because why not? I'm Messi." And with those, if he catches it well, he could put it just in the most unsavable spot. So never gonna knock him for taking that. And then halftime came, and it was like, thank goodness it's 0-0 because it felt so much worse. And to Chris's point from earlier, it didn't feel like we had 57% possession. It felt like we had been dominated that whole first half. And I was shocked when I saw the possession stats at halftime.
Even I think it was Twellman was the one that said it. I'm not giving him credit. I'm saying he's wrong. he said
can't anymore. Cut it out with Twellman.
No, but no, now I'm not giving him credit. Now I'm saying he's an idiot. He said, "Oh, the LA Galaxy has had so much more of the ball, whatever." I'm like, that's not right. And I look it up, and it was like 51% to 49%. At the moment he said it, I was like, this guy's full of crap. And then we ended up with 57% at the half. So it's easily mistaken because it didn't feel that way at all.
Jose, next time we hear Twellman's name, I need you to give us a random basketball reference because this is how I feel. That's how I'm starting to feel with all this Twellman talk. It's like I want to hear Jose's basketball references instead of.
I feel like I gave one today. Yeah, when you talked about Puig, I'm gonna call him Puig. I don't know why we keep calling him a different name.
We call him Puig.
Yeah, I don't know why. I've never heard of a Puig being called a different name, but whatever. He kept smiling and like being friendly, and I was like, you're making the worst, like, yeah, it's like you're making the worst tackles. It's like putting these guys at risk for injury, and then you have the gall to like, we love each other, we're friends. You remember me? We played in Barcelona. I was like, I don't think they like him. I think he's like when Pirelli said about LeBron, smiling faces with hidden agendas. That's that guy. That's what I think.
I don't know if he had a hidden agenda. I just think
he was
just
he was just trying to be nice, and he just kept sliding right underneath Boosie. Poor guy. Boosie almost like decked him at one point. He was like, keep laughing.
So, Puig, he picked up a lot of early fouls. I'm surprised he finished the game without being carded. He kind of laid off and played a little bit more within himself as the game wore on. But I am surprised that he was. I'm surprised that Crazy Eyes didn't give him a card earlier or at all because his trigger finger on the cards was very fast in today's match. And I watched a lot of MLS this weekend, and this was the most questionable officiating that I saw, and mostly just in controlling how the fouls impacted the game and how quickly he carded certain players. There was one that I thought Messi got away with, and I said if that was any player but Messi, they would have gotten a card. And I was off of maybe like a corner routine, and they started breaking on the counter, and he fouled him. But it was not the best officiating, I would say, and that's to be expected when it's these replacement refs. I don't know how much there is to dive into that, but
yeah, just a quick bit. Don Garber's the head of the MLS, and he's supposed to be meeting with the referees association and hope to get something done in the next week. So hopefully this might be the last match that we have with the replacement refs. If not, it'll be coming up shortly. So maybe one more match with these replacement refs, but hopefully they get something done quickly because I mean that's not something we want to be looking at is dealing with issues with officiating. There's always going to be issues with officiating, so we want to at least have that peace of mind that this is the best officiating that we can get.
Yeah, I agree with Julio though. I did watch a lot of other matches this weekend, and they seemed good. They seemed fine. The last Inter Miami match, they seemed fine too. But today on both ends, they were really bad. They called some horrendous plays, and it was all around, not one team or the other. Like you can't say, oh, they just were against Inter Miami the whole time. No, it was all over the place today. So it was a shame to see. I agree, David. It sucks. You don't want officiating to get into to play into the final outcome of these matches.
You saw it on the red card. On the red card, he gave the guy a yellow, not realizing that he had previously given him a yellow, and it took some time before it sank in. He's like, oh. And you can tell he's like, if I had remembered I had given him a yellow earlier, I probably wouldn't have given him this yellow. But Whatever.
That
It is
was
what
so
it is. You get what
awkward.
you get.
He totally forgot. He's like, oh man, that's right.
Good old Crazy Eyes had the yellow out. He's like, oh no.
I think that was a bad call, anyways, to begin with, wasn't it? I don't think he barely touched some. Right? It probably shouldn't have been a yellow. I
He was
feel
just
like.
overly
It
aggressive
was
with
very
the
questionable.
slide,
Yeah.
and Busquets did a Busquets thing, and he loves to Busquets. I mean, we all love him because he's on our team, but we all. I think Chris was it. You said in the
I
group
said,
chat,
yeah.
and, like, if he was on an
Yeah.
opposing team, you would hate his guts. So
I would hate him. He's
sometimes
always
you need one of those guys.
crying. Yeah, he's always crying. He's always flopping all over the place. If he was on the other team, I'd hate him. But hey, he's with us, so whatever.
I didn't see any of that, so I don't know what you guys are talking about. But I thought he's fine.
All right, so who wants to walk us through the Messi goal after this second yellow red card?
You're the one that does it really well, Julio. Just do it. You do a slow motion. It feels like I'm there.
Yeah, so I mean, it starts with Messi and ends with Messi. So Messi gets the ball. Were we in stoppage time already? So the red card shown to the guy, Delgado, maybe, and then they announced that there's 7 minutes of stoppage time, and I'm like, okay, there's a decent amount of time here, and this was after Alba had screamed at Tata, and everyone was just clearly very frustrated, and it was just Messi time. So he plays the ball out wide, and Alba plays it down, does a double interchange with Messi, and it's incredible to me how either of them stay so open, especially Alba. Alba tends to find just so much space without anyone really pressing him. And it might just be because he has some pace and he's just kind of shifty that people don't close on him too hard because they might get beat. But it's amazing to me how much space he's able to create for himself. And then for Messi to find the space to pop into, again, very much what would appear to a viewer as unguarded. It's like, how does he find the space? And he always finds the space. We saw a shot attempt earlier of his where they showed such a great shot of it where he was standing at the top of the box and he almost like head feinted the defender that was nearest to him, and the defender like looked away for a split second, and Messi would like got into the little gap and then shot and went wide. But this time it didn't go wide, and he just flicked it right over McCarthy and hit the back of the net. And when it happened, I was just looking at my screen and I was just like, it's always disbelief, but it's always like I was shocked but not surprised when it actually happened, because it was Messi to Alba, Alba to Messi, Messi to Alba, Alba to Messi, goal. And it was just like, oh, thank God. Thank God we have the best player in the world. And that's the only way that we have been like digesting and ingesting these goals that he makes, because it's just so incredible that at any moment it can take a match that was so flat and would have felt so defeating and deflating if we had lost, and turns it into a bit of a positive. I mean, taking a point from a West Coast trip is good. It could have been better. Yes. Could have been worse. Definitely. So for me, that goal was just, it's going to require that throughout the season. And it's going to require Drake Callender saving a penalty to save us a point across the season. It's going to require like all these random little moments that just save us. So yeah, I don't know how you guys experience that. I assume it's the same, but like the interchange, you could feel it. You could feel a little like magic. You could feel like the particles in the air just starting to like connect and shoot electricity between them. And it's like, Messi scores, and it's the best. That's how I experienced it.
I mean, it just felt
first
right.
We're gonna clip that for TikTok.
The way that they played that together, that's what you want to see. That's what you expect to see with a Messi team. It's players just knowing what each other wants, and they just do it. And there's no hesitation, there's no funky plays, there's no weird passes or hesitation. And that was what we got there, and that's what you're hoping to see. Like think back to last season, the interplay with Kramaski. That's what you had. These players that just know what each other are doing, and they know where to go with the ball. We need to start seeing more and more of that. You expect it with Alba. We haven't seen it with Busquets, and you expect it with Busquets as well. We expect it with Suarez, and it's just not there. So yeah, it's great. It's great that it happened. I hate that it had to wait till the last 7 minutes of stoppage time, man down for LA. So that's it takes away a little bit of the luster of the goal, but you're happy to see it hit the back of the net. And at some point, I want to see this team score without having Messi involved in the play, because that's the one thing that I saw our commentator Shoes Are Not Hammers. He mentioned is that this team lacks confidence, and it's true. Gomez at one point was running free, and he might have had a pass to Campana, or he might have been able to play the ball forward, and he just slammed the brakes on the break and passed it back to Messi. And these are the types of things that are showing that they feel like they need to play everything through Messi before they can do something. And that's what we might need to see to take the next step forward, is these players just saying we can score two, we can make plays happen without having to force the ball to Messi. So that's it's an interesting balance, because you do want Messi to have his hand in it because he's so good, but we need to see these players take the next step, and they have talent, they can do it. They just have to feel it down in their plums.
Yeah, I felt the same way that you were feeling, Julio, when that goal happened. I think ultimately it's one of those things that David's right. We're kind of just force feeding him the ball, and we're forcing these magic moments to happen. Because I mean, I don't necessarily like disagree. Where I'd probably rather he shoot it than anyone else on the team, but at the same time, Campana had a perfectly easy shot where it's not that it would have gone in, but it would have probably been a little more sure of an on-goal situation than wherever he was passing to. It didn't even reach Messi, so I was like, okay, it's yeah, and Charles right, because Argentina, I feel for a long time they force fed him to a point where it's like he would be so frustrated playing there up until the last World Cup, where it was almost like, okay, he's just part of the team, and that's when they started to do very well. But it's we're gonna have to figure that out, because he's gonna be gone for Copa America, he's gonna be gone for international duty, and it's one of those things that if he's not there, then what?
Messi pendencia.
I like that.
Love it.
I like it a lot.
But then when Messi's not here, panic.
Or they won't force it through. Like, they won't be forcing the ball through him. So hopefully, at that stage, they can just play their game and not feel like they have to check in with him, or we just don't score. I mean, that's the other alternative.
Yeah, I mean, we're gonna have to find ways to score, just like you said. Like we have to find ways to score that don't go through Messi for this season to be anywhere near success, because there's going to be gaps where he's not here. I mean, Copa America is already towards the end of March, so he's already confirmed to be missing one match that happens right before a Copa America match. And just based on the volume of games that we have to play, he can't play every single one. So it's just, you got to score in other ways. Suarez has to score. Campana needs to score. All these other players need to chip in. Gressel needs to get his act together. Busquets needs to be playing a lot sharper if he's expected to maintain that role.
Twellman at one point, I don't know if you guys caught it, towards the end when the wings were just killing us, right? They were just constantly going at us, and he was like, "This is how you spend money the right way. It's not about spending money, just spending it. The way they're spending it is where you actually need." I was like, "Bro, I get it. You hate that we just bought these guys. Like
$20 million worth of transfers."
I hear you. I feel you. I'm just saying we still have them, and we're gonna figure it out.
I think part of that was the LA Galaxy's issues leading up to this season. Is they've spent money. So and they haven't spent it. They haven't spent it right. So now they're seeing some of their new acquisitions actually pay some dividends. I think that might have been more, but yeah, it does feel like a backhanded jab to Inter Miami, even though it's hard to argue that we haven't made good purchases when your biggest purchase is Lionel Messi.
Yeah, but I would say that if you look at the younger players that we brought in, Facu, it's very hard to say because of the injury. I think Toto's been solid. I can't say he's been an incredible purchase because he really needs to pan out and get into his potential. Gomez, we're seeing glimpses and flashes of the potential. Gressel is not looking great. Suarez is not looking great. And I guess the jury will be out on Redondo, but all signs would indicate that he has a very high potential ceiling, and also a very high floor. But we need to see. We haven't seen him, so we don't know. So I can't say that that's a great point. I think that there are things that weren't addressed, like we've harped on time after time. The defense just still needs work. The midfield is now lacking depth because there's no attacking threat with Crema hurt and Farias hurt. But those are just things that happen during the season, which again brings me back to the point of we need to learn to score without Messi because, God forbid, he has to miss a game with a knock or he gets even more injured where he misses more than one game. Someone else needs to be able to step up and facilitate the offense.
Just rest him. You know, he's going to need to rest. Yeah, has he even been subbed out? Like, yeah, it's just second game, right? We're just looking at this second game, but it's just one of those things where it's like, I mean, he missed the preseason game and everybody went up in arms, right? I understand that. I get all that happened there totally, but it's still going to be the reaction anywhere we go in the United States. Everybody wants to see him regardless. You know what I'm saying? So it's almost like you're going to have to figure out ways of like still making like Apple with the when the was it the president that came out and said about the that we're gonna need more stars. Okay, and then literally today, what did the commissioner say? He's like, yeah, we're gonna talk about changing some rules with these salaries and adding more players. We've missed out on too many superstars. I was like, what? And the first thing you think of is like, you know, there's a lot of guys that have wanted to come over and play with Miami, and you just first of all, they were literally 2 weeks ago saying that we're not going to make the salary cap, that we're going to be in trouble. It's like, okay, so like which is it? You know what I'm saying? So like you want the stars, but then you're also capping it, people from getting stars.
So remember, the report was that Inter Miami is screwed. That was the actual report was Inter Miami is screwed. That, I mean, it was like, wasn't it just like 2 moves that we had to make to be unscrewed? Like they
were screwed, and then they signed Redondo the day after.
Screwed.
Go figure
it out.
Hey, do you guys have anything else to say about the game that we just watched? Because I kind of want to go into what happened around the MLS a little bit, because there were a lot of good. It's only the first weekend, right? But there are a lot of nice outcomes for Inter Miami in general. A lot of ties. Atlanta lost. That's huge. So it's only our second game, but we're still at top of the board right now. A lot of big teams tied. Orlando tied. Nashville tied. Cincinnati tied. Cincinnati tied against Toronto. That's rough.
In Cincinnati.
That's really rough. In
Cincinnati, 0-0, right?
I mean,
a scoreless tie.
Yeah, same as Orlando. I think Orlando was scoreless as well. 0-0.
And tonight, so, all the matches that were played today were scoreless, with the exception of Inter Miami's game now.
Correct.
Yeah, so we want to panic or whatever because we tied, but man, the rest of the East at least was in similar situation this weekend. There wasn't any big wins or anything like that as far as like our rivals and the top of the top teams go. So, you know, second match for us, first weekend of the MLS League, long season ahead of us. So we're good. I think we're good. We just got to figure out a few little things. Suarez needs to start speeding up there a little bit, and Redondo's coming in. So I think we're fine.
Suarez needs to look like he's not limping after 30 minutes of playing at a very slow speed.
Suarez needs to get ready for the next game, because that's the one I've had circled. How about that?
Are you going game finally?
No, I'm not. I wish. I have. Yeah. No. I would have loved to. It's not that far from those of you who don't know where we all live. We're obviously we're from Miami, so it's a 3-hour drive from here to go to Orlando. And I was telling the guys, I was like, man, what a game that would be to go to that kind of game. It would be a lot of fun, because that I expect that fan base. I don't talk bad about them in the sense of that Okay, they are our
Who's-
biggest
who's gonna
rival.
Who's gonna tell Jose?
It's here.
The match is in Miami, Jose.
Oh,
Well,
okay.
Fort Lauderdale. It's not a 3-hour
Oh, I
drive.
thought it was away. I thought it was away. Well, it feels like that in
It
traffic.
feels like a 3-hour drive to Chase Stadium.
Okay. All right. Well, guess what? I'm excited for it, and that should be if you guys are around here, you should go. That's a fun game.
Yeah, there's a lot of improvements made to Chase Stadium. A lot of improvements they said they've made. They've improved the food options. I think that's it. I think that's the general
Some
gist.
delightful lobster rolls.
I think they added another section or 2 sections.
Cool, I guess.
Maybe cheaper prices, God forbid.
Doubt it. Highly doubt it.
No. Never cheaper prices.
Yeah, so that's what we get to look ahead to. And this might be the last week in a while that we have a full week between matches, because all of a sudden we start throwing in CONCACAF matches. The Copa America starts back up at the end of this month. So there's going to start being a lot of rotation that we see with these matches coming thick and fast. So that's right, thick and fast. Any closing remarks here, Chris?
I already said mine. My MLS preview.
Wait, Chris, but did you notice the crowd in LA go bonkers when Messi scored? Did you see that?
That's
The word on the street is that we painted the streets pink.
The word on the street is that the streets were painted pink.
That's right.
Any thoughts on the
yeah.
halftime show?
I mean, I tried. I had to close my eyes. I was borderline about to pass out with all the flashing lights. I was not prepared. I was not prepared for that.
I showered, so I took that time to shower.
Jose showers confirmed.
His weekly shower was due.
He starts the week off nice and clean, so the rest of the week he's good.
Chow wants us to utilize our Patreon money to go to the games. Chow,
We got stickers, Chow. We got stickers.
Chow, I would agree with you, but we need many more Patreons to afford to go to these games with any kind of consistency. But yeah, we would love to
prove it.
We would love to do that.
Food lover, you love it. You love us. Prove it. Patreon, baby.
Oh man. Anyone that's interested in supporting us on Patreon, you will find a link in the description wherever you're listening. Also, follow us on all socials at the Heron Heads. I think that does it for us tonight. It was very enjoyable in hindsight because we didn't lose, and yeah, that's all there is to say. We'll probably be releasing a preview for the Orlando match Wednesday. We're gonna be my best guess with right now, kind of without talking to everyone about it. And until then, thanks for stopping by and catching us. We are the Heron Heads, your first stop for all things Inter Miami. We'll see you on the next one.
See you guys.
Thank you.